A suspected serial robber, well, laughing all the way to the bank, thanks to New York's new bail reform law. He was freed on bail after police say he held up 4 banks in less than 2 weeks. He got out of jail, and then he robbed another bank.
Yep, you heard that right. That suspected robber's grand larceny charges are now nonviolent felonies. And under the new law, that means that he can't be held in jail pending trial, no matter how many times he strikes.
Here to weigh in is New York State Assemblywoman and GOP congressional candidate Nicole Malliotakis. We had you on before. We talked about this. Here's the headline in the New York Post.
Yep.
Wow.
And the first thing he said when he got out was, "I can't believe they let me out. What were they thinking?" That is the quote that's in the paper today.
That's incredible.
I can't. So he's thinking, I robbed 4 banks. They arrest me. Rather than hold me, they let me go right away. I rob another bank. And so in his mind, it doesn't even make sense to the criminal.
It doesn't make sense to the criminal. And what's interesting is, and people around the country need to take note, this is what happens when you have one-party Democratic rule, when you're trying to aim to be the most progressive, or I would say regressive, state in the nation. It's not just the state legislature that voted this in, and Governor Cuomo. It's our local lawmakers, the city council, the mayor, who want to close Rikers Island. So they support this because they want to empty out the jails. You have the federal lawmakers, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, my opponent, Congressman Max Rose, both supported both these policies, bail reform and closing Rikers. What happens if this is taken to the federal level, the bail reforms? I mean, it could be really disastrous, as we're seeing right here in New York.
Well, and so Governor Cuomo has said that he might be looking at changes, or saying that there might need to be changes to the bail reform law. You know, one, is that an indictment of this law and the Democrats' law in the first place? And then second, what do you anticipate for those changes?
Well, look, the thing is, we have, socialist Democrats, the left wing of the legislature, and then you have the moderate Democrats. They're fighting right now. Some of those moderates are joining us and saying, yes, this goes too far, we need to change it. But they're getting a lot of pushback from the left-wing members of the legislature. And so no one's taking a real solid stance and saying we need to change this. The governor should be showing leadership here. He should halt the law, allow us to do public hearings, allow us to bring in law enforcement. The DA's Association is against this. We need to know why. And then we can craft a good bill that actually considers dangerousness, considers criminal history, returns judicial discretion, protects witnesses. This bill does not protect witnesses. In fact, will lead to witness intimidation.
Yeah, the bill went into effect in the first of the year. We're already starting to see it in reality. What's the biggest defense for the left-wingers that defend this bill? When they see something like this on the cover, how do they defend this reality?
I don't know how they defend it. As a matter of fact, nothing they say so far makes any sense.
No, but why do they want to let this guy out? What's the idea? There's got to be a rationale.
The idea is that, no one should be kept in jail unless they're guilty. But in some cases, you even have confessed people. You have somebody in Albany who was released January 1st, who's been held since July because he confessed to a manslaughter, a homicide charge. And he was released just because the bail law didn't take into effect some of these serious crimes. Remember, manslaughter, homicide, aggravated assault, strangulation, every type of drug dealing almost, except for heavy trafficking, all released with no bail.
And you look at the cover of the New York Post, and there have been a lot of articles critical of this law. So how big of a political liability do you think this will be for the Democrats who voted for it?
Look, in New York, I think it's hard because people will vote down the party line. I think that, they flipped the state Senate in 2018, and I think that was a big mistake for the people of New York, because now we have no balance. It's one-party rule down the line. And I think that there will be consequences, not just for the state legislators who voted for this, but people like my opponent, Max Rose, who lent his support and gave Governor Cuomo political cover to pass this.
All right. Nicole, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.